I looked at the calendar, my heart heavy with a familiar ache. Years had passed, each one filled with the silent longing for a child. Countless doctors' visits, endless tests, and the crushing weight of failed attempts had taken their toll. This last IVF cycle was everything. It was my final, desperate hope for a family. The financial strain was immense, but the emotional cost felt far greater. I held onto a fragile thread of hope, knowing this was my last chance. My sister, Clara, called, her voice bright and full of what sounded like genuine concern. She had always been the golden child, effortlessly achieving everything I struggled for. Still, she offered to help with my appointments to be my rock. I accepted, grateful for the support, yet a tiny, cold knot of unease tightened in my stomach. I dismissed it as nerves, telling myself she was simply being a good sister. The IVF cycle began. My apartment became a fortress of meticulously organized medications, each vial and syringe placed with precision. I explained every detail to Clara, showing her the schedule, the storage requirements. She nodded, assuring me she understood. She even offered to pick up a new prescription, insisting I rest. I felt a pang of gratitude, allowing myself to lean on her, just this once. A few days later, I noticed something odd. A medication bottle seemed slightly different, its label subtly askew. I remembered Clara handling it. I tried to shake off the thought. It must be my anxiety playing tricks, I reasoned. The stress of this journey was immense. Clara was just trying to help. I pushed the small detail from my mind, focusing on the hopeful outcome. The news hit me like a physical blow. The first round had failed, catastrophically. The doctors were baffled, saying everything looked perfect on paper. My world crumbled. I cried until I had no tears left. Clara arrived, holding me close, whispering words of comfort. Her embrace felt strangely hollow, her sympathy almost too perfect. I clung to her anyway, needing any comfort I could find. As I prepared for the next, even more desperate attempt, a pattern began to emerge. A medication would be placed in the wrong spot, or a dosage reminder I'd set would be mysteriously silenced. Each time, Clara was nearby, offering an excuse, a small apology. "Oh, I must have moved it by mistake," she'd say. I found myself accepting her explanations, even as a quiet alarm started to sound within me. My body felt wrong. The side effects were harsher than usual, a deep, persistent nausea and an exhaustion that crippled me. My doctor assured me it was normal, but I knew my body. It wasn't responding the way it should, despite the correct dosages. I wondered if I was just imagining things, if my mind was creating problems where none existed. The doubt was a heavy burden, then I found it. A clinic record Clara had managed, listing a dosage that was clearly wrong, a number I knew I had never been prescribed. My heart pounded. I confronted her, trying to keep my voice calm. She shrugged, blaming the clinic staff. "Just a clerical error, Anya," she said, too quickly. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting second, and I saw something I couldn't quite name. That night, I started a secret journal. Every strange occurrence, every mistake, every unsettling comment went into it. My gut screamed that something was profoundly wrong, that these weren't accidents. It was a terrifying thought, one I barely dared to whisper to myself. The quiet hum of suspicion began to drown out the voice of reason, replacing it with a cold, hard resolve. The final call came. Our last precious embryos were inexplicably lost, damaged beyond hope. My last chance gone, my world shattered into a million pieces. I felt an emptiness so profound it took my breath away. Through my tears, I heard Clara's voice from the next room, low and clear. "Some people just aren't cut out for motherhood." A cold dread washed over me. It wasn't an accident. It was her. The unthinkable had happened. I vowed then to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Clara's words echoed in my mind. Some people just aren't cut out for motherhood. The truth hit me with a chilling force. It wasn't an accident. My sister, my own flesh and blood, had stolen my last chance. My despair turned into a cold, hard resolve. I felt a fire ignite within me, a need for justice that overshadowed my grief. I would find out how she did it, every single detail. I spent days planning, my mind sharp and focused. I knew I needed proof, something undeniable. I thought about every interaction, every mistake Clara had made. I decided to install tiny cameras in my apartment, hidden where she often helped me with my medications. I would also meticulously cross-reference every clinic record. No detail would escape me this time. I felt a strange calm, a purpose guiding me. The hidden cameras began to record. I started keeping a detailed log of my medication vials. I discreetly collected small samples of my current medication, planning to have them tested. It felt like living a double life, always watching, always suspicious. The thought of what I might uncover filled me with dread, but the need to know the truth was stronger than any fear. I felt a heavy weight of anticipation. Then I saw it. On one of the recordings, Clara was in my kitchen, handling my medication. She paused, then quickly swapped a label from one vial to another. Another time, she subtly altered a clinic form I had left on the counter, a form she had offered to help me organize. My stomach dropped. The proof was irrefutable. My sister, the one I trusted, was a monster. I felt a wave of nausea and pure rage wash over me. I called Clara to my apartment. My voice was steady, but my hands trembled. I showed her the videos, the altered documents. She first feigned shock, then tried to blame me, then the clinic. But the evidence was too clear. Her eyes, usually so composed, flashed with a cruel satisfaction. She confessed, her voice dripping with venom. She hated my hope, my dream. She wanted me to suffer. I felt a profound chill, a complete shattering of everything I thought I knew about her. The truth about Clara was a heavy burden. I knew telling our parents would be devastating. They adored her, always saw her as perfect. They might not believe me. They might even blame me. The thought of tearing our family apart filled me with anguish. But I also knew I couldn't let this monstrous act go unpunished. I had to expose her, not just for myself, but for the future children I had lost. I needed justice. I gathered my parents and Clara. My voice was calm as I presented the evidence, the recordings, the altered documents, Clara's own confession. My parents' faces went from disbelief to horror. My mother cried, my father was silent, his face pale. Clara tried to deny it again, but her words were hollow. The air was thick with shattered trust. Our family was broken irreversibly. I felt a deep sadness, but also a sense of grim victory. The next steps were hard. I pursued legal action against Clara for medical sabotage. I also filed a complaint against the clinic for oversight, though I knew their part was unintentional. The legal process was draining, filled with cold facts and painful details. Each court appearance was a reminder of my loss, of Clara's betrayal. It felt like walking through a fog of grief and anger, but I pushed forward, determined to see it through. Clara was found guilty. There was a sense of justice, but it didn't bring back my embryos. It didn't heal the gaping wound in my heart. My relationship with my parents was strained, forever changed. They struggled to reconcile the daughter they knew with the monster she had become. The dream of my biological children was gone, a permanent, agonizing loss. I felt utterly alone, adrift in a sea of sorrow and betrayal. Healing was a long, slow journey. I started therapy, learning to process the trauma. I began to explore adoption and surrogacy, finding new ways to envision a family. I found strength in advocating for others who had suffered infertility or betrayal. My life was forever reshaped by Clara's actions, but I refused to let her define my future. My revenge was not just legal. It was building a family on my own terms, free from her shadow. I found a new peace, a new purpose, forever changed but unbroken.